A quick new idea daily from the world's greatest TEDx talks. I'm your host, Atossa Leoni, and this is TEDx Shorts. Carol Off is a Canadian journalist and author who's talked with people from all over the world for decades. It's given her a look into something all people, regardless of culture or background, share: the need to belong. In today's talk, she offers a personal story to reflect on what can happen when we empathize and put ourselves in the shoes of others instead of ostracizing them.
My mother died, and my family did what families do at that time. We started to sort through a lot of stuff. There were memories, of course, collections, and photographs. And my sister and I started going through boxes of pictures and seeing a lot of familiar faces. Then we came across some photos of people we couldn't recognize. They were strangers. And they really didn't fit in because I figured they looked Southeast Asian. And they didn't really work with my mother's other photographs. So we were thinking, who are these people? Well, we just presumed that these pictures got mixed up with our family photos, and they were somebody's photos from the photo shop. Except in the next box of photos we were going through, we found pictures of these same people. But in these pictures, my mom and dad were in the photos. And they were laughing and smiling. It was some kind of a celebration, like it was, I don't know, an anniversary or a birthday. What does it mean to belong? Who gets to belong to our families, our lives? Who do we let in? Who do we let into our communities? Who are the ones we accept? And who are the ones that we shun? The ones we know are not right, the ones who shouldn't be here, the ones we'll call the other. As a journalist, I've seen the effects of rejecting people because of who they are, because of their blood, of their ethnicity, of their culture, of their religion. And I know what it means to see that. And if I could take you to see what scorched earth looks like, where villages have been burned to the ground. And if I could take you into the woods where I've been meeting families, huddled in the woods, hiding with their children as they try to escape to someplace safe. I could show you all that. And you might say to me, but that could never happen here. That's what they thought. Racism starts slowly and it builds. And at first you don't notice it because maybe you think, well, it's not happening to me. I'm not being affected by this. Or maybe you think that, that guy really doesn't belong. But what happens when you become the other? When you're the one who doesn't belong? When you're the one who's insisting, I'm part of this? What happens when they come for you and there's no one left to say that you're the one who belongs? So what's the antidote to this? As a journalist, and I work for the CBC, and as it happens, I talk to people and ask them their stories. And as you hear people's stories, you start to connect with them. You start to see who they are. You start to identify with them. And then as you're listening to the story, then you are the one. You're the one in the little life raft trying to cross the Mediterranean with your family. You're the one who's trying to carry your children through a field of razor wire. You're the one trying to cross a mountain pass with your aging mother on your back. And if you think that these are things that happen to others, you just have to remember what happened in this country, the kind of racism we have seen, where we saw that Indigenous survivors of residential schools, or Japanese Canadians who were interned in camps in this country because of who they are during the Second World War, or the Jews who were turned away at the border and sent back to death camps as we proclaimed that none is too many. The antidote to this is to hear their stories. And then as you hear their stories, you start to see that we all belong. At my mother's funeral, there were a lot of familiar faces. But there were a group of people who came in that we didn't recognize. They were strangers. And we thought that maybe they'd come to the wrong room. But then I recognized the kids, the children. They were the ones in the photos, the Vietnam family. But I thought, this can't be the kids. That was years ago. I realized these were the children of those children. And these parents were the kids who were in the photos. And those older people, the grandma and grandpa, were the mom and dad that my mom and dad welcomed into their lives. And I was so happy to see them because I could recognize them and knew that they belonged. So I asked them to tell me their story. As you listen to the stories that you're going to hear, and as you meet people, and you look at them and you think, yeah, there's the other, there's the one who doesn't belong, remember, they may be looking at you and saying, you don't belong, you are the other, just as they did in my community in Winnipeg. And so you have to get past that. You have to see that. I wonder who they are, because as a journalist, I know what it was when I asked them their stories and they told them they ceased to be parts of groups or parts of movements or parts of mobs. They became individuals, each with a story. And when you hear the stories, you connect with them as individuals. And that's what will happen. And that's, I'll tell you that when you hear their stories and you start to identify with them, I promise you, it will change your life.
The TEDx talk you just listened to was recorded at a TEDx event in Toronto, Ontario. All TEDx events are independently organized by volunteers who believe in TED's mission of ideas worth spreading. Special thanks to the organizing team at TEDxToronto. Want to listen to the full talk? Find Carol's talk and more at ted.com/TEDxShorts. I'm Atossa Leoni. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.